Greetings and a warm welcome to my channel. In this video, we will be discussing the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen. Take a seat, relax, and enjoy the recap. A high schooler named Yuji Itadori wakes up in a room with a blindfolded man named Satoru Gojo. Gojo asks Yuji who he is, and Yuji remembers his worry for his friend Fushiguro. Gojo reminds Yuji that he is going to be executed soon. The day before, Yuji's grandfather stopped him from going to the hospital and told him to focus on his club activities. At the same time, Fushiguro, a student from Jujutsu Tech, looks for a cursed object and asks Gojo for help. Yuji's occult club is threatened with disbandment by the student council president. They try to prove the existence of supernatural phenomena on the rugby field, but the president ignores their evidence. Yuji, also a member of the track and field team, is challenged by his coach to settle the dispute through a competition. Meanwhile, Megumi observes Yuji's impressive shot-putting skills and suspects a connection to a cursed object. Before Megumi can confront Yuji, he rushes to the hospital to see his dying grandfather. During an argument, Yuji's grandfather urges him to use his abilities to help others. Shortly after, the grandfather passes away. In the hospital lobby, Megumi introduces himself and asks for the cursed object. Megumi explains the dangers of curses and the weakening seal on the object. Yuji hands over the box, only to realize that his friends from the occult club have the actual contents and plan to remove the seal that night. Sasaki and Iguchi open the seal and find a finger inside. Curses begin to appear, and Yuji feels an unusual pressure. Megumi tells Yuji to stay put, but he refuses and decides to save his friends. Megumi confronts a curse inside the building and defends himself with jujutsu. Yuji overcomes his fear of death and springs into action, rescuing his friends and enabling Megumi's divine dogs to consume the curse. Megumi praises Yuji's courage and explains the nature of his shikigami. As Megumi approaches the cursed object, a powerful curse suddenly captures him. Yuji fights the curse but realizes he needs cursed energy to harm it. In a desperate move, he swallows the finger, gaining the power of Raimon Sukuna. Although he manages to kill the curse, Megumi worries that this has triggered a worst-case scenario since Sukuna desires to destroy humanity. However, Yuji regains control over his body and suppresses Sukuna. Megumi prepares to exorcise the cursed Yuji Itadori. Later, Yuji undergoes a control test where Sukuna possesses his body for 10 seconds while his teacher, Satoru Gojo, fights him. Despite Sukuna's attacks, Gojo easily evades them. When Yuji regains control, Gojo knocks him out and promises to protect him from execution. Gojo reveals that Yuji has the potential to become a vessel for Sukuna and advises him to consume all 20 of Sukuna's fingers to prevent his execution. Yuji visits his friends at the hospital and takes his grandfather's ashes. Swallowing another finger, he demonstrates his growing control over Sukuna. Determined to fight curses and collect all of Sukuna's fingers, Yuji enrolls in Tokyo Metropolitan Jujutsu Technical School with Gojo. During his admission interview with Principal Yaga, Yuji faces an attack from a cursed corpse doll to test his resolve. Yuji proves his determination to stop Sukuna and protect others, impressing the principal and gaining acceptance. Gojo introduces Yuji to Megumi and shows him around the campus. The next day, they meet Nobara at Morioka Station. Eager to leave her rural hometown, she joins their group. Together, they begin their jujutsu training, with Yuji serving as Sukuna's vessel and the key to locating the remaining fingers. Nobara joins Yuji and Megumi at Jujutsu Tech in Tokyo. They meet in Harajuku, where she shows her spirited personality and disinterest in classmates. Teacher Gojo takes them to an infested building with curses. Yuji fights a cursed spirit, while Nobara faces a cursed corpse. They defeat the curses and save a hostage child, working together. Nobara joined Jujutsu Tech to escape her oppressive village and reunite with her friend Saori. After the mission, Gojo treats them to dinner. In the next month, they are summoned to handle a cursed womb, which leads to the death of a fellow jujutsu student. Kiyotaka Ejichi, the assistant manager at Tokyo Jujutsu High, leads Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara to a cursed womb in a detention center. Their mission is to rescue any survivors. They encounter a special-grade cursed spirit inside. Yuji finds a detainee named Tadashi, but Megumi refuses to bring him outside due to his criminal history. Nobara gets taken away by a curse, and Megumi realizes the protective barrier has been breached. They fight back despite fear. Megumi saves Nobara from other curses, while Yuji struggles against the special-grade curse. Megumi rescues Nobara and they escape. Yuji unleashes Sukuna, who defeats the curse easily and regenerates Yuji's hand. Sukuna takes control and Ajichi calls for backup. Sukuna defeats the curse using his domain expansion. Yuji remains under Sukuna's control. Megumi and Nobara are approached by second-year students Maki, Toge, and Panda after Yuji's death. Maki apologizes and asks them to join the Kyoto Sister School Goodwill Event to fill the gap left by Yuji. The event is a battle between schools where sorcerers compete. Megumi and Nobara agree to participate to grow stronger for Yuji. Meanwhile, a meeting occurs between a sorcerer and cursed spirits who aim to defeat Jujutsu sorcerers and control humans. They plan to incapacitate Satoru Gojo and turn Sukuna, the curse inside Yuji, into their ally. They suspect that Yuji might still be alive, as Sukuna watches over him from within his soul. Although believed to be dead, Yuji's consciousness resides within Sukuna's innate domain. Sukuna proposes fixing Yuji's heart, but Yuji refuses to lend his body again. They agree to fight to the death, and Sukuna quickly kills Yuji. Gojo mourns Yuji's loss and plans to train other students. Suddenly, Yuji comes back to life, and Gojo decides to train him privately for the Goodwill event. Cursed spirits at a diner discuss killing Gojo and consider using the prison realm cursed object. Megumi apologizes to Tadashi's mother and joins the training. Gojo helps Yuji control his cursed energy using movies and the principal's dolls. Gojo senses a disturbance and confronts Jogo on the freeway. Gojo battles Jogo, a powerful cursed spirit, and uses his infinite cursed technique to overpower him. He defeats Jogo and brings Yuji to witness the battle. Gojo explains the concept of domain expansion and demonstrates his own unlimited void. However, Hanami, another curse, intervenes and helps Jogo escape before Gojo can gather information from him. Gojo and Yuji train for the Goodwill event. Geto and Mahito's curse group plans to seal Gojo on October 31st in Shibuya. They play soccer with Jogo's head. Junpei Yoshino, a bullied student, witnesses his bullies being killed by Mahito. Yuji and Nanami investigate the corpses and encounter curses. Yuji learns Divergent Fist and defeats an opponent with it. Nanami realizes the creatures are mutated ex-humans. Mahito takes Junpei to his hideout and discuss the origin of curses. Nanami assigned Yuji to gather information from Junpei, while Nanami confronts Mahito in an intense battle. They discuss the nature of souls and bodies, with Mahito believing the soul shapes the body. Junpei is approached by Yuji, but their conversation is interrupted by a teacher. Yuji uses a distraction to allow Junpei and himself to talk privately. Nanami and Mahito continue their fight, with Nanami protecting his soul from transfiguration. Nanami manages to escape temporarily, surprising Mahito with his rising cursed energy. Nanami engages Mahito in a fierce battle, utilizing a time-based vow to increase his power. He considers his options, wearing down Mahito or delivering a powerful blow. Nanami unleashes a devastating attack, shattering a wall with his ratio technique, collapse. He injures Mahito and retreats as debris seemingly crushes the curse. Meanwhile, Yuji and Junpei realize they are together, discussing the movie theater incident. Junpei can only see curses recently. Geto observes them, pleased with the connection. Yuji is invited to dinner at Junpei's house, fostering a closer bond. Nanami contacts Ajichi for treatment and ponders Mahito's danger. At Nagi's house, they bond over dinner until Nagi falls asleep. Junpei asks Yuji about killing someone, and Yuji expresses reluctance due to the ambiguity of life's value. Junpei finds a Sukuna finger, attracting a deadly curse that kills her. Nanami and Yuji decide to confront Mahito, but Nanami wants to spare Yuji from killing transfigured humans. He asks Yuji to monitor Junpei, who is being misled by Mahito. Junpei, fueled by anger, targets Shota Ito at school. Mahito and Geto observe, planning to manipulate Yuji through Junpei and the Sukuna finger. Junpei confronts Shota, accusing him of placing the finger in his home. Before Junpei can kill him, Yuji intervenes, urging him to stop. Yuji ignores Nanami's warning and goes to Satozakura High School. He finds Junpei attacking Shota, his former bully. Junpei summons a Shikigami, moon dregs, to protect himself. Yuji convinces Junpei to seek justice for his mother's killer. Mahito interrupts their conversation, immobilizes Yuji, and mutates Junpei. Yuji fights back, enraged by Junpei's death. Yuji lands a powerful blow on Mahito's face, causing the curse to bleed. They engage in a battle where Yuji's attacks are proves effective. Just as Mahito is about to finish Yuji off, Nanami arrives and deflects Mahito's attack. Nanami realizes that Yuji's attacks work against Mahito and that Mahito can't touch Yuji's soul. They team up to defeat Mahito, preparing for a second round of battle. And thus concludes this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. See you in our next video. Nanami saves Yuji from a lethal attack, and they decide to work together to defeat Mahito. Mahito transforms his arm into a blade and spawns an eye on his palm. They attack him from both sides, forcing him to escape by transforming into a child version of himself. Mahito regurgitates small transfigured humans to attack Yuji. Yuji rescues Nanami, and they coordinate their attacks to overpower Mahito. Mahito activates his domain expansion, trapping Nanami inside, which makes him recall a past experience that inspired him to become a Jujutsu sorcerer. Yuji breaks into the domain and weakens the barrier. This causes Mahito to touch Sukuna's soul. Sukuna warns Mahito and injures him, but he manages to escape underground. Nanami contacts another sorcerer to exorcise Mahito, while Yuji reunites with Nanami, who explains the events. Yuji feels guilty but is determined to save people. Nanami asks him to stay alive and recognizes his responsibility as a sorcerer. He vows to never lose again until he kills Mahito. Later on, Mahito, Geto, and Jogo discuss their plan. Mahito suggests winning over Sukuna by offering him the fingers, while Geto plans to retrieve the fingers stored at Jujutsu High. Yuji expresses excitement to return to school to see his friends. The Kyoto Jujutsu students arrive for the event, where Gojo reveals that Yuji is alive, but Megumi and Nobara are horrified. Yuji apologizes and rejoins his group, then Principal Yaga explains the rules of the team battle. In the Kyoto team meeting, the principal orders his students to exorcise Yuji. Then the team heads to the battlefield. As the Goodwill event begins, Gojo starts the event. Both teams enter the forested area. Yuji asks about the Grade 2 curse's location so he can fight them. Aoi to-do appears and confronts the team. Yuji fights Aoi alone but is overpowered. Yuji gets back up and exchanges words with Aoi. The Kyoto team attacks Yuji to kill him, but Aoi saves Yuji and confronts Noritoshi. Momo is knocked out by Megumi's new. Megumi and Maki engage Noritoshi and Kasumi, while Panda and Nobara taunt Momo. Megumi suspects the big three sorcerer families have a motive. Meanwhile, Aoi and Yuji fight evenly. Aoi criticizes Yuji's technique. Yuji learns about the importance of cursed energy and harmony from Aoi. Mekamaru attacks Panda, but Panda easily defends himself. Panda enters guerrilla mode and overwhelms Mekamaru. He underestimates Panda, and Panda defeats him. He offers future assistance before leaving. Kasumi and Maki clash, and Kasumi recognizes Maki's true strength. Despite not being a Jujutsu sorcerer, Kasumi is outmatched by Maki's strength in their battle. Maki predicts Kasumi's moves and deactivates her domain. Mei suggests promoting Maki, but Satoru mentions the challenges with the Zenin family. Nobara struggles against Momo but refuses to accept her perspective. Nobara defeats Momo using her techniques, while Mai informs Momo of Mekamaru's elimination. Maki dominates her battle with Mai. After their battle, Mai questions Maki's decision to leave the Zenin family and cries at her response. Elsewhere, Megumi battles Noritoshi in a temple, both using their inherited techniques. Noritoshi alters arrow trajectories and showcases his blood manipulation abilities. Megumi's divine dog is occupied, and Noritoshi creates a distraction and overwhelms Megumi in close combat, breaking his tonfa. They discuss their connections to the big three sorcerer families. Noritoshi sympathizes with Megumi but wants to kill Yuji to fulfill his role as heir. Megumi summons Max Elephant and engages in a fierce battle. They are interrupted by Hanami's branches, trapping them. Satoru and Gakuganji try to reach the battlefield but encounter Juzo. Gakuganji instructs Yudaheim to save the students while he takes care of Juzo's issue. Hanami destroys Megumi's phone and immobilizes Toge. He seeks the Sorcerer's sacrifice to become Earth sages. Megumi, Toge, and Noritoshi runs from Hanami as Toge tries to hold it off. Noritoshi barely injures Hanami with his blood manipulation, and they plan to seek help. Hanami pursues them outside, then Maki joins the fight. Megumi and Maki attack Hanami's weak points, but Megumi is hindered by a cursed bud. Maki and Megumi are eventually subdued, but Yuji and Aoi arrive to rescue Maki. Yuji and Aoi fight Hanami together, and Aoi helps him unleash the Black Flash. They engage in more battle, and Hanami summons larger roots to attack them. Yuji and Aoi adapt their strategy and continue fighting. Hanami reveals his enjoyment in the battle, and Aoi decides to use his curse technique. Boogie Woogie. Aoi uses his Boogie Woogie technique to outmaneuver Hanami and launch a relentless attack. Yuji surprises everyone by landing 4 consecutive Black Flash strikes. They continue the fight, pushing Hanami to the river where Aoi reveals its weak spots. Hanami prepares to activate its domain expansion, but Gojo appears, floating above the battlefield. Meanwhile, Gakuganji clashes with Juzo, and Yudaheim is ambushed by Haruta. Nobara and Mai come to her aid, and Haruta retreats. Gojo severs Juzo's limbs and instructs Gakuganji to heal him for interrogation. Gojo predicts Hanami's escape and combines his techniques to create Hollow Technique, Purple. Yuji tries to pursue Hanami, but Aoi stops him to prevent damage. Mahito successfully steals cursed objects and a Sukuna finger while wondering about Hanami's fate. Haruta finds an exhausted Hanami in an underground cave and is joined by Mahito. Mahito confirms completing their mission, stealing the Tengen's barrier. Mahito helps Hanami and observes its transformation into a cursed spirit. Back at Tokyo Jujutsu High, the higher-ups discuss the recent events caused by Mahito and stolen cursed objects. They debate whether to inform the students and sorcerers, but decide to keep it among themselves. Gojo suspects that the special-grade cursed spirit fought by the students helped the intruders bypass Tengen's barrier. In the healing ward, Yuji and Nobara visit Megumi, who shares his experience of having the cursed bud removed and praises Yuji's growth. Aoi appears and acknowledges his expectations for Yuji. The next day, Gojo discusses the continuation of the Goodwill event with the students. Aoi convinces them to proceed despite recent events. The event becomes a team-based baseball game. The game unfolds, with various interactions between the characters and arguments over cheating. Aoi steps up to bat against Yuji, and the principals discuss their thoughts on Yuji and the importance of supporting the students. The game concludes with Tokyo High winning the event. Later on, Taichi complains about the open auto-lock doors at his apartment before being killed by a cursed spirit. Akari Nita, Megumi, Nobara, and Yuji investigate the connection between the victims and visit their former school. They learn about a bungee jumping tradition from Yasuhachi Bridge and decide to investigate. Megumi's past at the school is revealed, causing tension among the group. They arrive at the bridge, but find no curse. A punk informs Megumi about his older sister's experience with the open doors. Megumi decides to go back to the bridge alone to protect his friends, but Yuji and Nobara join him, expressing their support. They enter the curse's domain and face the mole-like cursed spirit. A new cursed spirit from the death painting looms also appears. Yuji confronts the new threat while Megumi and Nobara handle the mole-like curse in the domain. Yuji fights Kichizu, dodging his blood attacks and landing punches. Megumi and Nobara try to kill the mole-like curse in the domain but it retreats. They decide to keep crushing the exits and persevere. Nobara is eventually pulled out of the barrier by an unknown entity, while Megumi continues to fight. Kichizu flees upon sensing his older brother's presence. Megumi advises Yuji to pursue him. Outside the barrier, Nobara confronts Eso and questions his nature. Inside the domain, Megumi battles the curse and encounters a special-grade finger-bearer. Megumi activates domain expansion and fights back. He stabs the curse through the chest with the help of Divine Dog, Totality. Megumi collapses from exhaustion. He remembers his past with Tsumaki and the life they lived. Nobara notices Sukuna's finger and battles Eso. Yuji and Kichizu appear, angering Eso. As they fight on, Nobara strikes Eso's head with her hammer, and Eso attacked them with a lethal wasp attack. Yuji and Nobara battle Kichizu and Eso, evading their attacks. Eso's technique threatens them, but Yuji carries Nobara to safety. Kichizu spits blood on Yuji, and Eso injures Nobara. They learn they have limited time to live due to the curse's effects. Nobara uses her straw doll technique to harm Eso and Kichizu. Yuji fights back with cursed energy-infused punches. Eso activates his Wing King technique, but Yuji counters with a powerful punch. Nobara kills Kichizu with her straw doll technique, while Yuji defeats Eso. Eso takes a man hostage and escapes, leaving Yuji and Nobara to pursue. Nobara attacks with her straw doll technique, while Yuji finishes him off. Yuji senses something unusual from his blood. Elsewhere, Choso senses the deaths of his brothers and Mahito reacts with satisfaction. Akari tries to contact the first years but fails, while Yuji and Nobara find Megumi alive under a bridge and they scold him for leaving one of Sukuna's fingers lying around. Yuji holds the finger, triggering Sukuna's presence. Megumi warns Nobara not to tell Yuji about the Yasuhachi bridge curse. Yuji and Sukuna make a pact, and Yuji is unaware of the deaths caused. Maki and Panda train while To-Do and Mei meet the Kyoto High Principal Gakuganji, proposing to promote the first-year students to Grade 1 Sorcerers. And this concludes this first season of Jujutsu Kaisen. Hope you found it enjoyable. See you in our next video. Remember to like, subscribe and stay tuned.